They do normal gangster stuff like killing, fighting, beating. Sorry, I'm just going to the top ones. Like, should be like a hitting, beating, killing. Okay.
Welcome to Mosaic of China, a podcast about people who are making their mark in China. When all of their stories are pieced together, they form a mosaic of China. I'm your host, Oscar Fuchs. In today's episode, I talked with Maple Zuo, who is an up-and-coming comedian in China. She has amazing energy, which I hope you can hear in this conversation. We start off by talking about her comedy set and how her approach is different in English versus Chinese, but then we veer into some unexpectedly dark territory, so there's part of this chat which might not be suitable for all audiences. Some really interesting details, though, about her family and her background growing up in Inner Mongolia. Thankfully, the stuff that she mentions has no bearing on the situation there today. This is another recording that I did at home, so there are some similar sound issues to last week's episode. Sorry about that, but at least this time I don't drop anything during the recording, so look, that counts as progress, I think. Thanks so much for all the support on Instagram, on Facebook and WeChat. It was really nice to hear from you about your thoughts on Philippe from last week's episode. And I'm really looking forward to what you think about today's episode. It's quite a contrast. So enough of me, and here's the interview. You've been in Shanghai how many years now?
I've been in Shanghai since 2017, 2 years now.
Okay, So actually I am your superior. I've been in Shanghai more than you.
Oh, experts, huh?
Yeah. This is a competition.
老外 expert.
Well, the first thing I ask every guest on the podcast is, what is the object that you've brought that represents what you're doing right now?
It's a Tom Ford lipsticks. Yeah, my partner bought me this. You know, when he first given me, I thought, I was like, TF. I didn't know, this brand. I said, oh, TF, like TF Boys. You know, there was a Chinese band called TF Boys. I said, oh, this TF Boys. He said, no, it's Tom Ford. You know, I don't use expensive stuff. So this is very expensive lipsticks. I've been using on stage every day, you know. Right.
So tell me, why does that have some particular resonance? Like, what does that symbolize your life in China?
I feel like as a female comedian, the different things between male is you do makeups on stage. If you look, very normal, people will think you're not serious on this. So each time I go on stage, I will do makeups. But I don't want to do too strong, but lipstick is just enough. It also, if without that lipstick, I feel like I'm not prepared, I'm just ugly, I just not confident. But once with the lipsticks, I feel so good.
So where should we start then from that? Because there's a lot that we can talk about, your partner. Let's start with about the actual performance side of what you do these days.
Yeah. Okay, so I started comedy in 2016 Beijing. That was my first time doing some open mics. I was so scared because, performing in front of other people is not easy, and making people laugh is even harder. So they give me 3 minutes, and I go on, I sing something not funny, and I shake, my hands are shaking, and then I just get off. And then after even 3 months, I didn't dare to go on stage again. But then I moved to Shanghai. I think since nobody knows me, I'm new here, maybe I should try. So they have a workshop that teach you how to do stand-up comedy. So I went to there, I learned some skills and go back home, write some jokes. And I did my 5 minutes. It works okay. Because I feel like people are addicted on stage. Like once you go on there and you get a bit laugh, oh, that's just so rewarding. You just want to do it more and more. So from there, I just started my comedy journey.
Let's go back to Beijing then. So what happened that first time?
That first time, my partner was having a gig. He's organizing one because there's not enough comedian. So he said, can you just go there because we don't have enough. Can you just be there? So I just get there and say a few words and get off. It's just rough.
Wow.
Yeah.
And were you angry that he made you do that? Or were you actually like, yeah, that was a good try? How did you feel?
The thing is, before comedy, I think it's a performing thing, right? Before comedy, I was live performing poetry. So I perform a lot. And I'm a teacher, so I'm not afraid of standing in front of people, but I just don't know how to make people laugh. So when he let me to go on stage, I'm not worried, but I'm just worried I'm not funny, But I want to give a go,
And you use English only, or do you also have a Chinese set?
Because I think last year I was only doing English comedy, and then later on, some people recommended me to some Chinese comedy, and I started to try, and then I realized there's a huge difference between Chinese and English comedy. So number one, in English comedy you can talk about anything. In Chinese comedy, people get offended very easily. And number two, the audience in English comedy, they're very chill. They're very enjoying stuff. Chinese audience, they're very uptight, like judging you. Yeah. And then if you didn't perform good, the English comedy audience will like give you a cheer, like clap your hands, like to encourage you. Chinese audience, they just like nod down their head, playing their WeChat, ignoring you.
Oh, wow, that's rough.
Yeah. And also before, I just translated all my English jokes into Chinese. And then translation not always work. So you need to go back to the Chinese way of thinking to write jokes. And that only works for Chinese people. And then you change your brain to English, kind of humor. You realize you're two different people. And my friends who she's bilingual, she come to see both sets. She said, you're a totally different person. Because in English, you're very like spicy, aggressive, like, okay, talk about foreigners, But in Chinese, I'm a loser, So you have to be a loser. I'm and people just laughing about you.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, when you said that Chinese audiences can be offended, what did you mean? Can you think of some examples?
So, for example, comedians always joke about their partners, right? So in English comedy, I say, oh, my partner has some flaws, it's a funny thing, and people go along with it. I have a 20-minute set about my partner, and we even have a tour together called The Relationship is a Joke. We toured all around China for that. That's an amazing thing. But then I trying to talk about it in Chinese. My first line is, hi, everybody, I have a partner, he's a foreigner. And people say, don't show off.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I was like, I'm not show off. Like, have you met him? I'm trying to say something funny. So it's like, some even Chinese audience like, oh, you got a foreigners. You're not like, what's it called? You have a better life. They want to laugh off a loser, but who is not a loser, but because they can stand on stage. So I don't know what they're seeking for. If you say, oh, I go abroad to study, I have a foreign boyfriend, I have a rich life, they just like don't want to. So it's a weird feeling for me.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because in a way I can see how it would distance yourself from your audience if most of your audience wouldn't understand the life that you have with a foreign partner, right?
Yeah. So in Chinese comedy, I just miss the modern part of me, like who am I now? I always go, okay, when I was young, my dad, my country, my hometown. And that can get related to a lot of Chinese audience.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so after you've got them on side, after you've given them your China background, then do you come on to the modern side, or do you just leave it?
I haven't have a set about modern life yet, so I kind of just like before the past. I haven't figured out, because I just did comedy for 2 years. I think I should try more, but I haven't. So I think my major right now is doing English comedy. The Chinese comedy is slowly drift away from me, because it's too hard for me to doing two kinds of humor.
Right.
Because in China we have xiangsheng so many years, like it's a different techniques than stand-up comedy,
So what is the Chinese understanding of comedy? Because of course stand-up comedy really hasn't had a long history here anyway.
Usually we have xiangsheng in China. They're very local. A lot of the stuff is recited. It's not original. But stand-up comedy is original. Because stand-up comedy is more like about who you are. Like, this is me, I'm funny, this is why I'm experienced. And they want to get the related, connections with the audience. But xiangsheng is like everybody can watch. It's like a show.
Right. And it's not very personal. It's
very in general.
Yeah.
It's never too impersonal, like this is who I am. I think that can define the big difference of that.
Well, you said then when you do comedy in Chinese, you go about your family background and your history. So maybe let's talk about that. Like what is it about your past that you talk about?
It was a very strange past family. Okay, because my family is a very weird, strange family, because my dad is a gangster.
Your dad is a
gangster.
Okay.
Okay, so this, because if before I shouldn't dare to say that because people will report me or get my dad, but then he's off that business now, so I can talk about it finally. You know.
Right. So tell us how that was as a child growing up in the house of a gangster.
It's rough because a lot of people, maybe you see the movies, right? You see, oh my God, gangster's so cool. As a daughter of the gangster, you must like princess and stuff. But the reality is not, because my gangster dad and my uncles, they all like have a gangster family, and other gangster group like controlled the town. So they don't have highly education, you know. They're very, they didn't even go to primary school. So all they know is violent. So they don't like talking to you. So if you guys have conflicts, my dad rather use his fist rather than talk to you. So it's the gangster family actually is a very violent family. It's a very insulting family. Like who is the loudest, who has power, who is strongest, who's at power. But like as a female, like a woman, we're just like have no power at home. So in my family, I have a bunch of brothers. The only female is my mom and me. My mom didn't get respect, you know, and then me either. So, and then, you know, the reason I bring up the lipsticks is because my mom never used lipsticks, and the first time I saw a woman using lipsticks is a girl, like a prostitute, my dad brought at home. So that gives me, oh, that's sexy, you know, that's kind of sexy girl should be doing. You know, you look at my mom, it's like a Cinderella type of thing, you know.
Wow.
So it's not fancy. People say gangster, it's just what they want to be, think of. The reality is not very nice.
And can you say which part of China this was?
Inner Mongolia.
Right. So you spent how many years in Inner Mongolia?
18 years.
Okay.
Before college, all my life was there.
And so can you give us an example of what forms of gangster work your father did? Okay,
so they do normal gangster stuff like killing, fighting, beating. Sorry, I'm just go to the top. Yes. Like, should be like a hitting, beating, killing. Okay, and then that was just normal thing they do. They do gambling. They do business in mahjong, Chinese mahjong, or they do prostitution, hotels, and then that's the dark side. Because gangster, they have like a company, you know, the different people control different parts, and then in other part they control transportation. So, you know, on the main road from this city to another city, they have like a big bus carrying people and carrying, you know, goods and everything. So my dad's family control the best time of the line. Okay, for example, from morning 8 to 10, my dad control that. Nobody can go on. Also, on the other bus going there, my dad need to charge money.
Right, so that means like he would have a roadblock and he would stop the bus and go on the bus?
He doesn't need to be there. He's crew. Just stop the bus, and they all know who they are. They all know who you work for. They just give them the money.
And so what were you personally exposed to? Like, are these stories that you knew at the time, or these are stories that you just learned later?
I was there. Like, I think I realized my dad doing gangster when I was in primary school. I didn't know because I think there's so many guys coming to my house every day and coming out. And then one time there was the girl in school kind of insulting me and beats me, and another girl just like, don't leave her alone, her dad is a gangster.
Right.
I was like, my dad is a what? I didn't even know, like, how should you know? He said, my dad told me, yeah, your dad is a gangster. So I kind of realized, but I didn't dare to ask my dad, you know, because my dad told me he's a businessman. He's doing business, you know. So but after I know, I didn't get any good, you know, advantage, because in school nobody want to be my friends. They just worry my dad would beat them, but actually they don't, you know. So
there's so many questions I could ask you.
Yeah, sure.
It's so difficult to even know where to start.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your relationship then with your father. Like, and I remember you. The reason I know you is because I saw you do, it wasn't so much a comedy set, it was a storytelling at one of the Unravel events. And it was about your relationship with your father, especially when you stood up to him. Can you talk about what, what was the lowest point in your relationship?
Okay, so I feel I'm very easygoing guy, because I see a lot. So I feel like I have no boundary in my life. But then I don't like my dad when he hits my mom, because normally he just slapped my mom on the face. I see them a lot. I kind of don't feel anymore. I know it's bad. But when I was 12, I walked in the house. I think they just argued something about money. So my dad just grabbed a lot of money, throw it on my mom's face, and he's smoking, and he just throw the smoke on my mom's face. And my mom is like having a period thing. He just kicked her so hard on the stomach. And then just like he grabbed everything to destroy her, push her head on the wall, the blood is all over the place, and the water on her face. I feel like he's just treating her like an animal, like no dignity. This woman giving you so many kids, and why you treat like that? So I go on this, I said, you're a monster, I don't like this. But then after that, we just stopped talking to each other. And then I trying to poison him, and then didn't work, And then he just sent me off the family. He sent me to some uncle's house. I didn't live with them anymore after that thing,
And so are these stories that you now use in your comedy? Like how much of... Right. So what kind of things do you use in your Chinese comedy, for example?
Okay, so people say the darkest side can be the real funny bit, right? But I don't have the ability to change that dark side into comedy yet. So in my comedy, I always, hey guys, my dad is a gangster, so you better laugh. Like something like that. Right. Or some like funny things happened in between, small things. Oh, my dad got this thing for me. Or I say, oh, my dad is very loud. He's alcoholic. He snores. Like in general, people can say, oh, a lot of dads does that. But those bit, it's so painful. I don't want to even think about it, So I can't transfer them to my comedy set. Maybe I'm not good enough yet, I don't think I'm forgiving him right now. If one day I forgive him, maybe I can let it go more and then talk about it. But now I don't want to. The people say, oh, anything can change to comedy. No, it's not. Because whenever you said it, it's a sad thing. It's not funny.
So what is your relationship like now with your family, with your father, with your mother?
I think he influenced me so much. Like the way I choose him, because he's a very intense relationship, I'm so scared. Every night after like 10 o'clock, I'm so scared. He come in, if he's drunk, I literally shaking. I have nobody to talk to, because whenever I talk to my mom doesn't know anything, right? My brother, the siblings, they're very harsh on me as well. They don't take me as a friend. So I have no friends. When I was young, I just learned the habits of writing diary. And then because you write a lot when they're young, so I started learning poetry. The poetry is sad, so I'm just like sad. But then things now, it's good thing is like I move on to comedy. It's the same writing, but because when I do comedy now, whenever I go through life, I'll pick the happy side and write it down. Before comedy, I'm a very miserable young lady. No smile. You go home, you look at my pictures at my house. It's all grumpy face. No smile,
Let's go back to today then. So when you talk about comedy, what is the comedy scene like here in Shanghai and across the rest of China?
It's very nice because we have the conversation now because I just do the tour of all China, so I can have a word on this. Right?
Great. So where did you go?
I went to Shanghai, Beijing, Shenzhen, Wuhan, Chongqing, Chengdu, Suzhou, Hangzhou. Basically, all the cities has comedy. I've been there already. So I feel like among all, Shanghai comedy is the most active comedy scene because we have so many clubs here. We have so many open mics. Each night, we have like 3 different places. So you have more time to practice. And then, because Beijing, we started in Beijing, there was a lot of good comedians, but they all left. So it's all new people in Beijing. And then we did a tour in Beijing. It was very nice. People are still very supportive comedy. We have 120 audience. But then when we move down to other cities, it depends, They have like 40, 30, 20, sometimes 11. So it just depends. Yeah.
But it's growing, right?
I think it's growing slowly.
And so, what do you want to achieve with your comedy?
The world is becoming global. I slightly quit my Chinese comedy. Doesn't because I don't like my country or whatever. I want to do English comedy because I love my country so much. I want to go out to the world to represent like a Chinese woman. I think there's no Chinese female comedy, like proper Chinese. Some are ABCs, BBCs, maybe outside, but like not proper China-born Chinese actually going out. So I want to work myself hard and going out and speak a voice of myself and my China, represent China, you know. And then recently I set up a group called China Girls. It's a comedy club. I open for Chinese girls, like whoever want to try comedy, they can come along doing shows, just like encourage more local people want to talk. You know, I feel like we have a voice. You go into a comedy scene, all white male.
Right.
Yeah, you know.
No, absolutely. And I think the world is now more open to diverse comedy. If you just look at the States, look at like Trevor Noah on The Daily Show.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just a few years ago, you would never imagine that a foreigner would be so popular in the US. And it's the same with John Oliver, another news comedy show. Again, he's another white dude, but he's not American. Like I think the world is now becoming more open to different voices. And you've got such a unique voice. I mean, I loved your story, but just, even without that story, just your ability to, to represent yourself, your country, your story, just from what I've heard, in the shows that I've seen you in. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where you go.
Thank you. Let's see. Let's have this conversation 10 years after.
Absolutely. Oh, you'll be way too big for me at that point. Well, thank you so much for that, Maple. Now,
thank you.
On to part 2.
Yes.
So I've got 10 questions to ask you, and let's start right now. So first of all, what is your favorite phrase in Chinese? So it could be like a new phrase that you see on the internet. It could be a phrase that's really hard to translate into English. Like what's something which you want to say?
My favorite one.
Yeah.
Right? My favorite is called Dao.
Okay.
You know Dao?
No.
Dao is like a philosophy. Dao Jia, like I think similar to Confucius stuff, but Tao is very vague. It's like the truth of the universe. I don't know how to translate that one, but it's like it's vague. You didn't know, but it's sometimes you can get it, sometimes you don't get it. I want to like study more about it and then translate in the future.
Right. I think English speakers probably know the Japanese reading of Tao, which is Do, which because we know Judo and Kendo and Aikido. So it's that's the Tao, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the Tao, but then the Japanese didn't pronounce it, or they changed the pronunciation.
Yeah, but I think if people,
it's the same
exactly
character. Yeah.
What is your favorite China-related fact? So, for example, it could be about your hometown or a story from Chinese history.
Oh, that one. Because I'm a female, I like strong female character. So, 5,000 Chinese history. There was one woman called Wu Zetian, right?
Yes. And
she's an empire. I so admire her. I read all her books and movies, and I can't imagine how she got through there. I know she's killing a lot of people, but like every empire, they're killing loads of people. But now people judging her, oh, you're evil. But all men are evil. So I feel like she must have done something so spectacular to get there. And that inspired me. I want to be a queen someday, like that.
Yeah, and from what I've read about strong women leaders in the past, it's always the men who come after that leader who start to make these stories of how evil she was, how terrible she was.
But actually that period, that was very peaceful and very thriving. It's very good. Even the people after her will say a lot of good things about her.
Excellent. What's your favorite destination within China?
Tibet.
Oh, awesome. When did you go?
Yeah, last summer, August. I love it because my partner proposed me there. Oh, that was a place I actually go there like, oh God, that was amazing. Because we climbed 9 hours in that day to the top mountain. And then there was a beautiful blue lake. And then above that was like snows on the mountain. It was so pure. And then the name of the lake called the God Tears. It was amazing. And then over the lake, there was some stone. And on the stone, there was a Buddha, Like you can't see, but it's a natural Buddha thing, and with the Buddha shadow that contain a whole Buddha image. So that's amazed me. I was like, oh God, I believe in God in that moment, you know? Yeah.
Wow, amazing. If you left China, what would you miss the most and what would you miss the least?
I miss most is the food,
I
of
knew
course.
you'd say food. Okay, but be more specific. Like, what is the food that you can't live without?
Being, you know, pancakes, Chinese special pancakes, so they
right.
can roll everything in. It's easy, quick, and just very tasty. I
Like-
eat every day.
Really? Like jianbing, right?
Yeah, any kinds of bean.
Okay.
Jianbing, juanbing, all these different beans.
Is there any food then in that case that you totally hate and you would not miss at all?
Oh, you know Chinese people eat weird animals
Uh-huh.
and organs. I don't like all of this.
Okay.
People go to hot pot. You know, there was one time I eat normal stuff. One of my friend put a pig brain in that one or some blood. It just ruined everything.
Oh, wow.
I don't miss that.
But you tried once though, wouldn't
No,
you?
I didn't.
Not even?
There was a small story. One of my friend opened a Chinese restaurant, and then she had a competition. She said, "Okay, anyone can eat the most, or win the eating competition. You get a year of free hot pot." So on the first round, I enjoy spicy, so I beat the other girl on the first round. Second round is you drink strange food. You know, you eat strange food. So it's a bowl of pig brain and a beer, and I quit. You know,
Oh,
and then the girl didn't. She didn't eat, but she won, you know, because I just quit.
how funny.
Yeah.
Great. Is there anything that surprises you about modern life in China? So, for example, any like latest surprising apps or trends or fashions?
I feel like because China is very big, has loads of people, and then because we have one big party to rule in the country, and once there is a decision, it goes down so quickly. Like the technology, Alipay and everything, Taobao, it's amazed me. Even though I'm using it, I feel like I can't get rid of my phone because, and it's saving me so much time. I want everything just like click. You go to England, you need to still eat cash and everything, but right now you can just scan everything. It's amazing. Yeah, but then there was a slightly part of me is like, because of technology, because we have 5G now, right? Everything is going so fast. I was wondering, all this time you saved, what do you use? You know, that makes me think, because usually people, transportation, you know, days and days to get there, and now just quick. Okay, but what are you gonna do at the time you got there? A lot of people just standing on the train, just like going on moments or still small funny videos. I want to do something more because we're saving so much other time, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. All of these conveniences, and yet we still complain that we have no time, and we're still just wasting time, like scrolling. You're right.
Yeah.
What's your favorite place to go out to eat or drink or hang out?
In China?
Yeah.
Okay, there was a Japanese restaurant I really, really like. I like that restaurant because the designing. You sit down, because in other restaurant you get in, okay, that's like a closed space. But that Japanese restaurant, because the designer is from Japan, he's very good. So you're sitting there, you look at the window, you can see the area you are in, you can see the lobby, you can see the outside view. It's like you starting from here, one part, you can just see the world you are connecting. It's so beautiful and peaceful.
Wow. What's it called?
Called Baichuan Restaurant.
Here in Shanghai.
Yes. I'll
Okay.
recommend it later.
Yeah. Okay, I'll get the details and I'll definitely share those.
Mhm.
I haven't been to that one actually. That sounds good. What is the best or worst purchase you've recently made?
Oh, the worst one I bought is a printer and a oven. Not oven, the printer. Because I thought I'm going to write more, I'm going to print it out. But I didn't use it. So,
So it's just
and
sat
the
there.
oven, I want to cook. But I didn't. So,
Oh, the same issue.
Impulsive buying. I always do that. Should stop it.
Well, is there any best purchase then that you actually have ended up using?
Some books.
There you go.
I like reading books.
Are you still writing poetry too?
Yeah.
Is
I'm sad, writing poetry. When it's funny, writing comedy. So
right?
Because
right.
it's not to say, oh, you have no friend. Because even though after doing comedy, I met a lot of people, you know, who know me, but I still a very introvert people. I want to my own space and calm down my brain. I like reading and writing.
And do you think you'll ever publish them, or is it just for yourself?
I I think at the end of the day, when I'm famous and people want it, I can publish some of the best work pieces. But now, because nobody knows who you are, you just write on your own, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hope I can publish a book.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what's your favorite WeChat sticker?
樱桃小丸子, like a Japanese cartoon. And then she's so happy and innocent, you know, and she has a happy family as well. And I think I want to be her, but I can't be her. Yeah, you know, but I like her. She just like so happy and didn't think about anything. I have so much dark side in my childhood, but hers doesn't. So I want to, my daughter maybe, can grow up like that.
That's nice. And particularly, the one that you've sent me is she's eating with gusto here.
Yeah, loads of food. So happy, I feel.
What is your go-to song to sing at KTV?
I love, I know, you know the guy, Adele. Adele was very deep voice and very emotional.
Yeah, but very hard to sing.
I go to KTV always on my own.
Oh, really?
So I can scream. I'm really bad at singing, but like scream like I can find someone just like you, or something like that. And then like Taylor Swift, because she also like writing diary and poetry, and then her lyrics was very good, so I like her. I don't go to KTV very often because right now it's like a team building thing with friends, and my friends will know I'm bad at singing. It's very embarrassing.
Well, maybe going back to your best and worst purchases, maybe you should buy yourself a KTV machine at home.
Yeah. Should be.
And finally, what other sort of Chinese related media or sources of information do you rely on?
WeChat.
Really?
That's my only thing I'm using right now.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Maple.
Thank you, Oscar, for inviting.
And you've shared a lot about your story, so I really appreciate that.
It's okay.
And I'm sure people out there who are listening are really angry because there's so many different questions I could have asked you, but it's a short time only. The final question that I ask everyone here is, who would you recommend out of people who you know in China that I interview next? Okay,
the one, that person, his name is Beyond. He's from Sweden, and he's an international clown. He's very professional. I met him on comedy. He's a very funny clown. And then later on, we worked together in a charity hospital, and I talk more, and I feel like he's very warm-hearted, and he's very professional. And then he not only doing charity here in Shanghai, he's doing everywhere, the world. I feel that heart is very rare, you know.
That's great. I can't wait to meet him. Yeah. If he's half as interesting as you, then that'll be fine.
Oh, he's more interesting than me. He's traveled around so many places. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much again, Maple.
Thank you.
So that was Maple. What a great story. And having seen her now on stage 2 or 3 times, well, I mean, you haven't even heard the half of it. Please check her out. She's not much on social media, actually, so watch out for China comedy listings in general to learn about where she is performing next. So the first thing I wanted to mention was that we discussed during the conversation that I first met Maple through Unravel. So let me just give them another name check. Unravel, so they're a storytelling group. They're based in Shanghai, and they've done an amazing job at putting on shows and building actually a real community of people around the art of storytelling. I was inspired actually to do a couple of storytelling shows myself, but it's nicer just sitting in the audience at those things. Now the team there, so it's Clara, Sarah, everyone at Unravel, they also have a podcast out, so I wanted to urge you to check it out. Just search for Unravel or Unravel Storytelling. I think either of those should work, and you should be able to find it. So what else? So the images are up on social media. Please check us out on Instagram and Facebook, or send me a message and I will add you to the group on WeChat. Which images do we have this time? So we have Maple with her fancy TF lipstick. That's Tom Ford. I also found a photo of the boy band TF Boys. I'd never heard of those guys, but yeah, I mean, they look like boys. I don't know what year that photo was taken, but yeah, that's literally a boy band. Maple's favorite WeChat sticker, so that's also up there. She called the character 小丸子, and I kind of thought she looked familiar at the time, but I couldn't quite place her. Anyway, I did a search on the internet, and it is Chibi Maruka-chan, so that's a classic manga character from the 80s. At another point in the conversation, we mentioned ABC and BBC. To people who live in China, they probably know those terms, but for everyone else, they mean American-born Chinese and British-born Chinese. It's pretty common to hear those phrases here in China. So in the context of our chat, I think Maple was saying that there are a fair number of ABC and BBC comedians, but far fewer mainland Chinese female comedians. What else? So Tibet. This is the second time in a row that someone has chosen Tibet as their favourite place to visit in China. Yes, I am going to keep a tally of these things. I looked up the lake that she mentioned. It's called the Blue Tears of God, or Yamdrok Lake. I'll post a photo of that too. It does look incredible. And the Japanese restaurant she mentioned, so that was Bai Chuan, Bai as in 100, Chuan as in Sichuan. And I posted a photo of that too. And finally, Maple mentioned that her favourite food, the one that she'd missed the most if she left China, was Bing. So this basically refers to all kinds of pancakes. Some of them are like crepe, and some of them are a little bit thicker, and some are like biscuits. There's a whole bunch of them, so I don't want to really go into too much detail. What I would say to you is just do a search, and you'll find out a whole lot more. I recommend a Bing search. A Bing search. Okay, maybe I'll leave the comedy to Maple. Mosaic of China is me, Oscar Fuchs. Graphics designed by Denny Newell. Editing by Milo Di Prieto. If you like us, please rate and comment on iTunes or wherever you download this podcast, and I will see you next week.